Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. SCP-173, Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-173 is to be contained within a reinforced, sound-dampening, climate-controlled, and non-reflective concrete chamber measuring 5 by 5 by 5 meters. The chamber is to remain under 24-hour surveillance via 4 overlapping fail-safe optical monitoring systems. All camera feeds are to be routed through 2 independent analog systems and stored off-network to prevent data corruption. Access to SCP-173's chamber is permitted only under direct authorization from Level 3 personnel or higher. All maintenance operations must be carried out by a minimum of 3 individuals equipped with chest-mounted eye-tracking cameras and synchronized blink suppression visors. All personnel must maintain constant visual contact with SCP-173 throughout the entire duration of any chamber entry. In the event of power failure, Containment Breach Protocol Tango 6 is to be enacted immediately. This includes a 3-man rotation of redundant flashlight triangulation, anti-blink protocols, and recontainment lures. Lethal force is authorized if any staff member loses line of sight without pre-established cover. Description: SCP-173 is a sentient, animate construct composed of concrete and rebar, with traces of Krylon brand spray paint applied to the face. The entity stands at 2.01 meters and exhibits no known biological features or energy emissions. Its mass remains consistent at 468 kilograms, despite sustained minor fragmentation during containment. SCP-173's primary anomalous effect activates only when direct visual contact is broken. While unobserved, it is capable of extreme acceleration, closing distances of up to 20 meters in less than a second. The mechanism by which this occurs remains unknown. No transitional motion has ever been captured on film. SCP-173 appears to jump between locations instantaneously, though no evidence of teleportation or traditional locomotion has been confirmed. Upon reaching a target, SCP-173 will apply force sufficient to fracture the cervical vertebrae at the base of the skull, resulting in instant or near-instant death. In other instances, the entity has strangled victims until cessation of respiration. Autopsy reports are consistent: high-pressure trauma, spinal fracture, tracheal collapse, or a combination of all 3. Victims show signs of significant fear response immediately prior to death. SCP-173 is completely silent. It does not breathe, vocalize, or emit sound of any kind. However, prolonged exposure by observers has been linked to the emergence of subjective audio phenomena, including the sound of concrete scraping on tile, intermittent low-frequency hums, reports of rhythmic whispering not captured by microphone. No scientific basis has yet been established for these occurrences. Environmental effects. A persistent byproduct associated with SCP-173 is the accumulation of biological waste, specifically blood and feces, on the floor beneath and around the base of the statue. This occurs even during periods of complete isolation. The origin of these substances remains unidentified. No internal cavity or release mechanism has been found. Samples taken from the fluids vary in DNA profile. Several contain partial human matches, including blood types O negative, A positive, and AB. The fecal matter appears partially digested, but includes non-human compounds, including traces of bone dust, rubber, and cellulose. Testing is ongoing. Due to high contamination risk, all cleanup must be completed with Class C hazmat protocols and finalized with antimicrobial incineration. Recovery Report. SCP-173 was recovered on redacted 1993 from a condemned housing block in redacted Japan. Local authorities reported a pattern of unexplained deaths, 7 victims over the course of 3 months. All were found dead inside locked rooms, with no signs of forced entry or struggle. Each body displayed cervical fractures, burst blood vessels in the eyes, and in some cases, claw marks on the walls, suggesting the victims attempted to escape or delay death. SCP retrieval agents embedded in local police discovered the entity standing in the corner of an apartment unit on the 5th floor. The apartment was sealed from the inside. All surfaces were covered in filth. The air was saturated with ammonia, copper, and decay. Initial contact led to the loss of Agent Takahashi, who reportedly turned his head during the sweep. Cause of death: snapped neck. Containment protocols were enacted 38 minutes later. No identifying origin markings were found on SCP-173. Local art institutions denied involvement. Interviews with nearby residents yielded conflicting statements. Some described the statue as always being there, while others denied ever seeing it. Several residents later recanted their statements and exhibited memory inconsistencies during polygraph analysis. Following containment, SCP-173 was transported to Site-19 and classified as Euclid. Behavioral Notes. While SCP-173 does not possess traditional sentience, Foundation behavioral analysts note subtle changes in posture based on the number and disposition of observers. When observed by armed personnel, SCP-173 displays minimal aggression. When alone with D-Class personnel, it will often lean forward or rotate its head toward the subject's face. In rare instances, it has appeared to smile, a change noted in only 3.4% of test cases. No muscles or articulation have been found on the sculpture. Internal scans return as dense, solid matter. Recent internal proposal SCP-173-V/02 suggests the possibility of learned behavior and possible pattern recognition. The Ethics Committee has not yet approved long-term observation study. Status: active. Containment status: secure. Human casualties: 32, confirmed. Total test interactions: 108. Known escape attempts: 0. Observed communication: none. Observed emotion: unknown. Postmortem consistency: 100%. File extension: Addendum 173-B, Behavior Testing Logs. Access Level 3. Euclid Sensitive. Status: redacted for civilian distribution. Log 01, Initial Response Test. Date, redacted. Subject, D9341. Observers, Dr. Emery, Site 19 Behavioral Staff. Purpose, establish baseline psychological response to direct exposure under standard observation protocol. Summary, subject was equipped with body-mounted eye camera and instructed to maintain visual contact with SCP-173 for 5 continuous minutes. Subject was visibly agitated but compliant. No sudden movements from the entity were observed. At the 3-minute mark, subject began muttering, "It's breathing, but it isn't alive." Observer noted no environmental sound. Heart rate spiked from 88 to 136 beats per minute by the end of exposure. No breach occurred. Result, test considered successful. Subject returned to holding for debrief. Subject later requested amnestic administration to forget the way it looked at me. Request denied. Log 02, Blink Synchronization Experiment. Date redacted. Subject, D1289, D1903. Observers, Dr. R. Halloway. Purpose, test synchronization of dual blink patterns to maintain uninterrupted observation. Summary, subjects instructed to alternate blinks every 4 seconds while maintaining mutual eye contact with SCP-173. Test began as planned. On third cycle, D1903 reportedly blinked out a turn. SCP-173 instantly closed a 3.7-meter gap and killed D1289. D1903 screamed and collapsed in the corner, refusing to reopen his eyes for 14 minutes. Audio logs include subject whispering. It moved like it already knew he would mess up. Result, blink protocol deemed unreliable under stress conditions. D1903 terminated 2 hours later due to non-compliance with further testing. Log 03, Isolated Observation. Date, redacted. Subject, D2448. Observers, Dr. R. Halloway, remote. Note, observer audio feed corrupted mid-test. Partial transcription recovered. Purpose, determine SCP-173 behavioral response in prolonged one-on-one exposure. Summary, subject placed alone in the chamber with one overhead light and a 180-degree wall-mounted mirror. Cameras recorded 22 minutes of uninterrupted eye contact. SCP-173 remained stationary. Subject began exhibiting signs of fatigue. Blinking increased despite warnings. At 23:42, subject whispered, "I think it's getting closer." Camera feed shows no change in position. At 25:10, subject turned slightly to the left. Mirror distortion caused momentary lapse in full eye contact. SCP-173 advanced 2.1 meters instantly. Subject began sobbing, repeating, "It smiled at me. It smiled." At 25:15, camera feed terminated. Screaming continued for 11 seconds. Result, visual distortion due to reflective surfaces confirmed to be insufficient for containment. Mirror protocols removed from future testing. Halloway notes in post-test file. Whatever it is, it understands the difference between watching and thinking you're watching. Unscheduled note. SCP SCP-173 Behavioral Shift. File authored by Dr. R. Halloway. Date redacted. Access level restricted. Internal review only. I've reviewed 108 hours of footage. It doesn't move randomly. It moves when you're vulnerable, not just when you blink. I've seen it wait for tremors in your voice, wait for a sigh, wait for the exact second your attention dips. In some of the tests, I think it's posing. One time it had its head tilted, but in test 92, it stood still for 7 straight minutes with its hand on the chamber wall. When the D-class asked it to move, it didn't react, until he turned to yell at the observation glass. I think it listens, not to sound, but to rhythm, to trust, to patterns. I don't think it just reacts to you breaking eye contact. I think it knows why you did. Log 04. Final scheduled interaction. Date redacted. Subject D3307. Observers Dr. R. Halloway, Dr. Fenestra, Site Security. Duration 13 minutes. Summary. Subject brought into chamber with full anti-blink visor rig and backup observation from 2 personnel outside containment. Subject instructed to recite a standardized set of questions to SCP-173. Subject begins calmly, asking, "Do you understand me?" No response. "Do you move when I look away?" No response. At 6:44, SCP-173 shifts slightly. Subject panics but maintains eye contact. At 7:13, subject mutters, "You weren't there a second ago." At 7:29, observer audio recorded faint concrete drag. SCP-173 now only 0.8 meters from subject. Visual confirmation confirms no blinking or eye contact failure. At 8:01, all lights in the containment wing flicker for 0.4 seconds. At 8:02, subject's neck is broken. SCP-173 has moved 0.8 meters and is now behind the body. No observers report blinking. Result: this marks the first recorded fatality with no documented lapse in visual contact. Internal ethics review requested. Dr. Fenestra proposes temporary upgrade to Cadet class. Proposal denied by Site Command. Recovered document personal research log. Dr. R. Halloway. Date of seizure redacted. Status: unauthorized documentation. Internal use only. Note: recovered from Site 19, Level 2 dormitory, drawer C. Dr. Halloway has not been located. If you're reading this, it means I broke protocol. I understand what that means. I'm not writing this to justify myself. I'm writing it because something about SCP-173 has changed, and no one will listen. I've worked this case for years. I've watched it more than anyone else alive. Every shift, every test, every mistake. And somewhere between log 85 and 103, I stopped thinking of it as a statue. It's not a sculpture. It's not art. And it's not dormant. It adapts, slowly, subtly. It knows when you're afraid. It knows when you're pretending to watch it. And I think it knows when someone new is assigned to it. It reacts differently to different people. I don't have the data to prove that, but I feel it. I know it. At first I thought it was just pattern recognition, how it poses, how it waits for emotional breaks. But last week, I reviewed footage from Incident 173.04, the one with D3307, where we lost him without a blink. I slowed the frames. Nothing moved. But SCP-173's head, its orientation changed, not like it rotated, like it was already in motion before the lights flickered. One frame, half a second, that's all it needed. And it wasn't random. It was looking at the camera, directly at the lens, as if it knew we were watching. Not the D-Class. Us. I brought it up to command. They dismissed it as compression error, suggested I take some leave, told me I was overworking the data. That might be true. Except last night, I saw it in the hallway outside my quarters. It wasn't there when I closed the door. I turned to hang up my coat, and when I looked again, I swear to God, it was behind the glass in the security cabinet. I checked the chamber logs. It never left containment, but I can still see it, even now. Every time I blink, I'm not sure if it's behind my eyes or in the next room. It's inside my dreams. I wake up gasping like I've been choking. Sometimes I can't blink. Sometimes I do, and wake up on the floor, my neck sore, my heart pounding. I think it's learning. I think the rules we wrote down were never rules, just a delay, a window. I think eventually it won't need us to blink at all. If I disappear, check my quarters. If the lights flicker, don't move. And whatever you do, don't trust the cameras. They only show what it wants you to see. End of document. Dr. Holloway has not been located as of this writing. His badge was found near Sublevel 2 janitorial access. CCTV footage corrupted during his final logged shift. Internal investigation ongoing. SCP-173 remains in containment. No personnel are to access the chamber alone. All new containment footage is to be reviewed manually, frame by frame. Effective immediately. Eye contact protocol is revised. Do not blink. Do not turn away. Do not assume it plays by the same rules.